Okay, we're going to talk about Burlesque, the movie. I remember my next door neighbor in front of me was very obsessed with this movie as a teenager. However, upon reviewing it, I decided this was not a kid's movie, so thus it didn't make the podcast list, even though I'm pretty sure it did, like, positively affect a lot of teenage girls. Yeah, I would say that sexuality in this movie is tasteful, but I will argue that Burlesque is for adults 20 through 120. And I'm not taking back those ages. I feel like teenagers shouldn't have to worry about burlesque. Just dance for fun or competitively or do ballet or whatever, but you don't have to do burlesque yet. Wait till you're in your 20s, okay? Anyway, so it starts with Christina Aguilera. I mean, she's looking great in this movie, so let's give it up for her. We love the queen. We stan the queen. Tina. I don't even remember when I started to understand that Tina was Christina. I don't know. I'm trying. Anyway, Tina, because that's so much more fun to say, is unhappy. She's working a job at a small town restaurant. Who even goes to restaurants in small towns, am I right? Anyway, unless you're like doing a day trip, it's normal. So she quits. I don't really love this opening scene. Doesn't grab me. Just, cut to the song. I don't need the context of her. I'll figure it out mid-song. That's my advice. I always want to preface that, hey, when I critique movies, I'm not trying to, like, shame them. It's amazing when a movie gets made at all. So, like, kudos to that. And there's, like, some beautiful cinematography work. This movie, it brought some chops. You know what I mean? Also, any musical numbers are just, to do it on film, it's wild. It's wild. Anyway. So, the Good Feeling song is good. It does come out of a little bit of nowhere. It doesn't super match, but I mean, it's a vibe. So then she buys her ticket to Los Angeles one way, which is a lot for me. Not necessarily the purchase I would make when I don't have a job, but, live your life. Everybody does the big trip out to LA a little different. Her hair is great in this, Christina Tina's. It's amazing hair. Shout out to that hair and makeup. You're fabulous. So she's walking on the Walk of Fame looking for jobs. Also, not the place in LA I would go to look for jobs, but sure, do you, But this is when she sees the burlesque. Yes, because the burlesque is that noticeable on the Walk of Fame in LA. It's not really a thing. That there is burlesque that happens probably in venues on the Walk of Fame, but there's not like a burlesque building, to my knowledge, unless maybe I'm not in the know. This burlesque building is a very classy, dark establishment. Alan Cummings is, of course, in this movie because cabaret, right? Like, come to the cabaret, you've got to. And Alan Cummings will be there, and in my fantasies, he's dressed up as the Scarecrow. Or no, yeah, he's the Scarecrow in the Tin Man. Yeah, that's how I only want to see Alan Cummings always. Because I think it's amazing. Anyway, so Tina walks in and is like, hey, is this a strip club? Like, sort of, but not really. A little different of a vibe, a little different. Cher is here because Cher is always useful in establishing the difference between burlesque and strip. I love Cher. She's in one of my favorite movies, which is Mermaids. And I don't know, I always have a positive vibe with Cher. I don't know if she's really totally likable. There's that weird thing that the guy from Red Hot Chili Pepper says about her. I like to believe that is just mental illness, but obviously I was not there, I did not hear the story, I did not witness, so hopefully Cher's still okay, because I really like her vibe. She's like, I feel like the Morticia Adams of everybody's life, and it's amazing. But, and to be fair, I had a phase in my early 20s where I was in love with the burlesque aesthetic. I was very inspired by it. Just the way the makeup, I just feel like it's like drag and femme and like sensual and just like a beautiful look. And in like fantasy, I want to wear those outfits. In reality, I hate the way that they feel on me, but maybe I was just like never a good burlesque person of like being able to, like, these people will like hand sew nipple coverings. Like, the burlesque world is like beautiful, and this movie doesn't like super, I think, show that like part. And the costumes that I have seen in burlesque, like, I mean, they are unbelievable. So my standards were high by the time I viewed this movie. Okay, just clarifying where I was, right? Because everybody's trying. But I will say sometimes I don't agree with the costume choices, and I'm sure people wouldn't agree with the costume choices I make in my movies, because they're weird too sometimes. But anyway, yeah. Besides Cher's, who maybe had to say has their own style, I have no idea, but hers are always amazing, but because they were like sailor themed, which is like, that's the cool thing about burlesque, is that there are like themed shows, right? Like sometimes they'll be like, this is like a Marvel burlesque, right? Or this is a Buffy the Vampire Slayer burlesque, or you take like the energy of the word is like fame. It's very much like ball. Poison review also coming soon, because I just like really was interested in this world. But anyway, the costumes that they started off in were sailor themed. There's a lot of plastic surgery in this movie, and I sometimes feel like it takes out of the humanity. And I would say I feel like most of the burlesque performers I see are usually, they don't have a lot of plastic surgery, but I also, like, I'm not meeting a lot of high-level burlesque performers, you know? I'm meeting people who just, like, do it as a hobby and for fun. But I love Cher, obviously. I think I say several times in my review that her work is just powerful. I might be biased when it comes to critiquing Cher. I have no idea. But I think Cher might just be that good. Like, are there any contenders against that? Like, does anyone go off in the comments and argue if Cher is good or not? Because I think she's just good. I think it's fine. I think it's great that like, the lasting legacy, like, I love when there are just women in this industry who have been working forever, like, and they work till they're old and it doesn't even matter and they're still, like, dang good. Like, that's amazing, because I feel like this industry sometimes, like, just shames, like, oh, when you're old, it doesn't, you know, like, and old being, like, past 35, right? Even then, oh, this industry doesn't care about you, and it's, like, so not true, you know? Anyway, Xtina gets a free drink because... Yeah, Xtina gets a free drink because the bartender bought it for her, and I was like, oh, does that work? Because she had, like, this kind of quippy comeback where it was like, he was like, do you want a drink? And she was like, not unless you're buying, and yeah. I feel like I want to try that more in places, because what if I could get a free drink, and then I'm saving money, and I'm having a good time, so gonna try that. Let me know if that burlesque pickup works for you. I'm very curious. Please be safe, though, obviously, with alcohol and everything. Anyway, she is smitten with burlesque, and she asked the bartender, she, like, wants to join, and he's like, yeah, you can just use my name. Kristen Bell is in this, and apparently is trans, I guess. It's hard because like, trans women usually want to be identified as women, so I don't want to, like, point out, but, like, that is the plot of the character, and also Kristen Bell is not trans, and I wish that there was somebody who was trans that played this part. Like, I mean, Kristen Bell is obviously good, but I don't really know why she in particular is playing this part. Like, I think it would have been more interesting, but I guess it's, like, a very commercial movie, so this is what we have. Hey, at least there's a trans storyline. And I know that there are a lot of, like, trans burlesque people, so, which is, like, awesome, but I kind of just wish they were represented in the movie, personally. That's just, like, my viewpoint, and I think Kristen Bell is great. I just feel like there's just a nuance there, like, I feel like as an actor, you really can't encapsulate as much by somebody who really does it. Like, I don't know. Also, like, because let's just give them diversity. There's so many trans actors in this industry. Like, let them represent or play women too. Like, it doesn't have to just be a trans thing, but, you know, would have been a cool breakout opportunity. But this was it was before all of that was going to be okay, I guess. And hey, they had the storyline. They're trying, ? Sort of. Anyway, yeah. I feel like Kristen Bell she's so beautiful. She's definitely, like, very post-op, if that's the case. And that's the thing is, like, I want this, like, story more of the way that they insulted her for being trans. I want, like, a more authenticity. Like, I kind of have the same feelings in Pose, too, about, like, but I guess, like, maybe people, they never, like, qualify, because trans can come in so many, like, different shades of colors, so people are always, like, judgy, I feel like, on how it is represented, but I don't know. I think it's just because I'm a bit disappointed there wasn't authenticity. But anyway, so she wants a martini. I kind of a little yeesh at this whole plotline because people will be like, oh, no one will know she's a dude. And it's just like, okay, I think a lot of people don't always know. And, like, what doesn't matter? But again, you know, it was, people weren't having these conversations. I bet you nobody even stopped the script too much, or they were trying to talk about it and this was the first shoe through the glass window. I don't know. Anyway, so Xtina wants to be in the burlesque, but she isn't quite there yet. She's got to prove herself. So Nikki, who I think that's Kristen Bell's character, she asks Xtina for her martini, and Xtina starts serving, and that's how she worked there. That's how you get a job in LA, is just show up and do it, I guess. Not as if they don't make you go through an interview process like everywhere else for like every single job. But anyway, she ends up falling off the stage with her legs extended, boobs, and her boobs off. And Xtina, you know, she wants to work here, but she just had terrible timing because they're in the middle of the show, and she can leave her name and number and she can audition for this. And so they do Marilyn's song, of course, because what's more on brand. And then there's more like trans hate crimes essentially, and just ignorant knowledge of the times, I guess, because again, I don't think anybody was consulting with an actual trans person, but Kristen Bell basically doesn't want anyone to go behind her back. Okay, so anyway, I don't even think Nikki's character is like canon trans. I think they just hurled that as an insult because this movie comes from a toxic time, unfortunately. So anyway, Xtina starts working as a waitress at this burlesque club. And she is, you know, she just picked up a tray, started working there. That's how she got the job. And Tess, who is Cher's character, very much later was like, you know, hey, don't go behind my back. Don't call me a man. And she said, sir, ma'am, again, which is a bit weird. I don't know if that's a joke to Cher, too, about her looks. I have no idea, but cringy, you know? It has mixed reviews for its cliche plot, and some of the dialogue in this movie is pretty bad. Anyway, so they're doing BDSM Marilyn, you know, it's not just old Marilyn, it's like a little Moulin Rouge, but here Xtina is out there practicing the moves. So Nikki is struggling with alcoholism, and she misses her cue, and they try to upstage each other, and she's like all worried too that like Xtina is gonna replace her, calls her a drag queen, which not the best, you know, it's not an insult. I mean, I think that's like hard. This is a world too before I think people really understood and appreciated RuPaul. But anyway, in Allie's head, you know, she's got star confetting, falling really cool. She's studied burlesque and she knows she has talent, and which I like this in a character. I like that this character like is like studying to be a good dancer. Like I feel like that is such an interesting plot that gets a little glammed up and kind of rushed here, but oh well. I would also like to note that Kristen Bell is surprisingly great at being sexy. Maybe I'm just catching up on my lesbianism with this, but I also argue that she should be a brunette. I think she looks better as a brunette than a blonde, but this is just not my opinion, and you know, Kristen Bell's gotta do her, and I'm sure the blonde sells Anna. So anyway, this one real estate owner, Marcus, he wants to buy out the club, and he doesn't like partnerships, so he's not willing to like work with the burlesque. He wants it gone from the streets of the prestigious streets of the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is very disappointing, and everybody always gets sad when they look at it. Anyway, the whole reason that Marcus, the evil real estate agent, wants to do this is he likes the club because when he sees something he likes, he has to have it. All of the girls lip sync in the burlesque except Tess. Tess is the only one who will perform a solo number. That, I guess these are club conditions, I'm unsure. But anyway, and Xtina doesn't want to just dance and lip sync. She wants to sing, which is above her pay grade. Then poor Xtina comes home and her place is ransacked. Somehow she knows, even though she didn't turn on the light, really investigate. And so she goes to the bartender because she doesn't have anyone to call. She's got no family. So then she stays with the one night with the bartender and writes some music. Tragedy bringing us together to write songs to cope. Anyway, so Allie's just explaining, and she's just like, you know, she left because she was just like not wanted in other people's lives, and it's a very vulnerable thing for her to expose. And then she finds out that the bartender is not gay like she thought. He is straight and engaged. She thought he was gay, so she leaves in the pouring rain. This feels a little bit weird because it definitely seemed like there was a chemistry between them. Yeah, it's just a very weird plot line. But anyway, so even though she could hang with people who are like straight and in relationships, but I guess not in movies, you know, no, a girl can never ever hang out with anybody who is not gay, another female, or the person she is marrying. They're not allowed. It doesn't work, I guess. But like, I really think you can have friends of different genders, but we just put all this emphasis on gender and everything, and it's collapsing amongst us. Anyway, so yeah, It's just weird. It's like you can hang out with people who are attracted to your gender in a relationship. But anyway, the bartender guy, you know, he runs to her in the rain, and he's physically runs out into the rain with her, and he says, you know, she has to stay because she has nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, Kristen Bell over here is pregnant, and Tina is out there making sure that everyone believes that she belongs there up on stage, and she's not going to have any audition, which is, for somebody who's relatively new, definitely an A-lister attitude, but apparently even A-listers audition. Sorry to spoil the myth and glamour for you, but it's a lot easier to make relationships when you're already super well known, you know? Either way, Allie isn't scared to audition because she knows all the numbers, and so she does one that's pretty weird and a little offbeat, but she wants it so bad and just wants her chance, and like Cher's like, I doesn't think she's gonna like it, thinks she's gonna regret it. And so Tina, you know, she's just like, she's gonna tell the bartender she's quits and she's gonna figure out a way to get off the couch, but then she ends up getting in. She gets her costume and her prop gun. She's practicing dance moves in the street. However, Cher is still disappointed because she blends in and pulls focus because Tina is a star, and I guess not a group player. But I also think, like, in the background, people, like, I don't know, sometimes if your background is all on, your center is on more too, but I don't know, I guess people are weird, and sometimes people just have a magic, you know? Anyway, sometimes I feel like this movie is, or most, like, sexual movies are, like, a little bit hard for me because it's, like, weirdly, I feel like it's softcore porn, right? Like, in a weird way, this was, like, kind of getting into that section of 50 Shades of Grey, but yeah, they've got, like, a bunch of close-ups of, like, boobs pushed up, thongs up, butt, eyelashes thick, which, I mean, like, that's in the world of burlesque, and it's not, like, I mean, there is, like, I feel like there are creepy guys who go to burlesque, but it's not necessarily for that creepy guy, it's for, like, the empowerment that a woman or a non-binary, I mean, even a gay man, really burlesque is, like, for everybody. Like, it's that freedom that's there, which, like, there's always going to be, like, creeps onto that energy, but yeah, I definitely, in rewatching this movie, I've had this theory that the reason that my next door neighbor was, like, frenemies with me and, like, all of these girl fights that we were having was that we were young and we couldn't understand why we were more attracted to each other than men, you know, because it just wasn't okay to be gay. And this movie definitely thinks that. My next door neighbor, I think, was gay and things were weird and there was just no pull for it. But then again, I can't go labor things, and I don't know, maybe it's strange to think about that, but yeah. And also could just be a girl loving woman power, but I don't know. I feel like this movie is very much a queer movie in a weird way. Don't know how to describe it, but because also this is just like, there's such drag energy in this. But anyway, she wanted to grab pizza with everybody in the other club, but they didn't end up waiting for Allie because I think they're, like, threatened by her or whatever, or she's still, like, new, so she doesn't belong, so they don't invite her to things. She's, like, prove herself, which honestly I would say is, there are, like, a couple of friendships like this in LA, like, especially when you first come out. It's like you have to, like, really, you either have to be there in the original group to fit in, and then you'll never fit in until eventually they decide you do, which is very weird. I don't really understand it. It's not how I make friends, but it's very LA. But she lies to Cher, and she just says she wasn't hungry, you know, because she's embarrassed that she wasn't invited to go to the pizza. Devastating. And then Cher helps with her makeup. Explains to her, you know, that it's about being an artist, you know, treat yourself like a canvas. And so Cher opens up about how she was excited to do makeup her whole life. Her mom died when she was 7. And she has this sweet moment with Tina where she says, you know, you're not going to be the new girl forever and it'll get better, which would be a really nice scene. I think Tina isn't the strongest actor, I would say. It's not that she's terrible. It could just be direction or voice, which is interesting, but there's something missing. I don't know exactly what it is. It could just be that the dialogue was so stale. It just feels like she's not very, like, present in it. Like, it never feels like it's not Christina Aguilera playing something, which might be hard because she was already at, like, a level. I don't know. And I feel like there's really nothing kind of interesting in her character besides the fact that she is, like, a go-getter. We know very few things about her but that, like, yeah. And she just seems to already be good at it, so it's a bit like we don't really see her struggle, so it comes off kind of trite. So the bartender guy wants her to stay, you know, he's okay with her being a freeloader, and, you know, doesn't want her to feel like she's gonna be evicted, but she is willing to pay, but she wants the bedroom and closet if she's going to pay. So They let her dance Nikki's part, but Nikki hates that, so she pulls the music so that she will not be allowed to dance. But Allie steps into the mic. They let him drop the curtain. She raises it back up. She sings a cappella, but somehow the music that Nikki unplugged kicks in. What's logic in the movies, you know? And then Cher is like, oh, I didn't know you could sing like that. But, like, Cher had several opportunities to listen to her and chose not to. So people are now all coming to hear her sing, and now she does, like, the whole show after that night because she just showed that she could do it, just waited for her moment to step up. So, you know, the real estate guy then tries to buy her drink. She's like, you know, there's another bar over there, does not want to help him, is protective of the club. She gets invited to eat. Exciting. I'm rooting for that. I love when girls come together as a group and accept each other and allow each other to eat. It ain't always the way, so this is exciting. Anyway, so Mr. Engaged bartender is in love with her, of course, because she's a successful, badass bitch. But he still has a fiance. So Xtina just serves up looks. They strategically block her nudity. Another dancer is pregnant and gets a ring. Obviously, it is weird to do a burlesque show and block nudity, but also I understand they're trying to go for commercial appeal and, like, do we really need to see boobs? Like, we could just go to the real thing. But it is a bit of a cop-out to make a movie about burlesque. I feel like you gotta show some titty, because that's, like, kind of part of the thing. I mean, there's, like, burlesque that doesn't have that, but it's mostly like that. So anyway, the real estate guy takes her to dinner, forces her basically, because he takes her bag hostage, and he buys her fancy shoes. They call Kristen Bell a slut, which is mean. Please say only nice things about Kristen Bell. She's truly a talent. And they all warn Xtina to be careful about trusting Marcus, the real estate agent. Ooh. Cher has her soulful music number. It's unearned, but she doesn't want to let go of the club. So then Kristen Bell fights with Nikki about Christina Aguilera singing. It sounds like a People magazine title or whatever back in the early days. Now People's pretty positive. Anyway, so she talks about how she, like, slept with Tess's husband the night after the honeymoon, and then goes and, like, damages Cher's car. The bartender starts taking the bed because Xtina is never there, and so she sleeps on the couch, and he shames her for Marcus, the real estate guy, even though he's rich and taking care of her, and, like, this guy has a fiance, like, and is falling in love and emotionally cheating, so not great. So Xtina isn't gonna take that because she's a powerful badass boss, and she calls him out for working on music and never showing up, and she admits that, you know, she thinks that Marcus just likes her for her looks. There's a pregnant dancer who's getting married, though, which is amazing. Congrats for her. It'll probably be hard to get pregnant and be somebody that, like, uses with your body, but I feel like there's definitely a pregnancy dance era that's, like, worth everything. Or maybe it sucks to dance pregnant. I have no idea. But anyway, so Tess is all like, Cher does not want her to get married, and Cher is like, only one man could have married her, and he's gay. It goes that way sometimes, you know. So Mr. Bartender guy breaks up with his fiance about time, and they get drunk, and they take off the shoes, and it looks like they're gonna hook up, but they don't. Just gets very flirty. So she comes out in ridiculous jammies and wants to lock the door. He has his shirt off, and he is ripped for a bartender. There are those ripped bartenders out there. He ends up being naked and goes to eat. There's a famous Amos product placement, and he puts it by his penis, and he says, "Come get the cookie." And then he just comes up from behind and touches and kisses her. And she falls in love and sings about it. But turns out he lied about the fiance and he didn't break up. Classic LA move. Yeah, everybody dates one. Welcome to LA. I feel like there's that like you list of what makes you a Los Angeles person officially, and I feel like realizing that there was more than one person in the relationship is, yeah, it's like a guaranteed out here. He was like, oh yeah, we'll break up over the phone. He's gonna break up with Diane Argan, which is from Quinn from Glee, which is rough. Sometimes this movie does not feel like LA and feels very much like New York, would like to say. They confirm that this one guy is gay. Cher doesn't remember the name of when the bank is taking the club, and the situation is bleak because they somehow don't have money, even though they've been selling out. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but here's the gist. They just don't want to give up the club, right? We're fighting for them to keep the club now because the main goal of Xtina becoming a burlesque sensation has already happened, so now we need the subplot of that. Okay, it's happened, but is she going to protect the community around her? Even though she's established that that's pretty much all she wants to do, and that relatively comes easy to her. So Xtina has seen the blueprint of the model retail, and there's like this asshole moment where one of the girls turns to her and is like, oh, there you are, I lost you. It's kind of asshole. Like, that's the thing, is like, a lot of the stuff doesn't, like, it's just very unearned. It doesn't really do anything. But anyway, they go and they say, you know, like, Marcus isn't a bad, or I guess, like, for the bartender, it's like, you're not a bad guy, you're just the wrong guy, because he had made some mistakes. And I will say, like, every reaction with Xtina's in this movie, and maybe it's direction, you know, maybe it's a myriad of things that I can't begin to know what somebody's going through, right? But, like, every reaction is the same. Doe-eyed beautiful. There's no, like, a lot of emotional journey, and they, like, kind of made her on a, like, that's the thing, is, like, this character could have had not much of an emotional journey, just been, like, very determined. I mean, it makes it kind of boring, because you need those moments of, like, where you don't believe in yourself, and it's hard, but every reaction is just doe-eyed and beautiful. So they want Marcus, the evil real estate man, to sell a skyscraper, and Cher is like, you know, you're spreading yourself too thin, and if Cher says you're spreading yourself too thin, you gotta listen, because there's no, you have to, right? There's no way around that. But Marcus wants Cher to listen to him, and he doesn't want to listen to her, but Xtina hits him with air rights, even though she's not a lawyer, but she just went to one lawyer and learned about this, I guess. There would be $1 million for the condos, and they'll go up to a 20-story view if the club gets blocked, and all of these other, like, businesses will be blocked because this guy's trying to build, like, a skyscraper, which would really be weird on the Hall of Fame. Not that there isn't, like, tall buildings over there, but it's not necessarily the vibe, you know? So anyway, they buy Vincent out, and Kristen Bell says that she didn't sleep with Cher's husband, and she just said that to hurt her, and she wants to come home, so kind of undoes that plot thing, and kind of a wild thing to say to hurt somebody that's not true, but whatever, you know, that they're coming home, everybody's a happy family in this burlesque club. And anyway, Xtina makes up with the waiter, but I don't love that. I don't really think he deserved to be made up to, but they sing the burlesque song that everybody knows from this, and that's Burlesque. You know, I've seen worse musical movies. It's not a fave, but I can understand the respect for it, and I can understand why my teenage next door neighbor appreciated it. It wasn't my favorite movie. I mean, I think there are amazing looks into this. I feel like this is a good movie to put on at a party, and I think that's a great reason for movies to exist, you know? Anyway, what movies do you want me to review? I have a huge list, but if you ever want to come on and talk about them, let me know. And it would mean so much if you subscribed, if you consider donating, because we're trying to raise millions of dollars to make diverse TV shows, so no big deal there. But if you'd like to help out with that, all my links are below. And I hope you have a great day, and let me know what you thought about Burlesque and Christina Aguilera and Cher, and let's talk more. Let's make this a fun place. Have a great one. Bye.